everybody, and welcome to today's episode of This Organized Life podcast. I'm your host, Lori Palau, and I am very excited for today's episode and to share our guests with you. As many of you know, one of the new things that I am doing this year with the podcast is I'm going to be hosting a series of what I'm calling Partner Spotlight episodes. As many of you know, I have an SBO Partner program, which is a community of professional organizers from all over the globe that own and operate their own independent companies. And we come together to support one another. There are great resources for people who live in different geographic markets. And we help them, and by encouraging them through mentorship to run successful and profitable businesses. So that's what we do. And in effort to doing that and continuing that is I want to share all of my partners with all of you out there. So today, joining me is my good friend, Lisa Eckerle. And Lisa is the owner of Sort Support, and she's based in Indianapolis or outside Indianapolis. And I'm going to bring her out. She's going to tell you all about herself, but she has started her professional organizing business. I guess it's going on maybe 2 years at this point. But she runs an upscale company. She focuses a lot with families, residential people, helping them create system strategies. She's got a beautiful aesthetic. I'm going to encourage everybody to follow her on Instagram. If you haven't already, we'll have links to that in our show notes. But wanted to talk to her today specifically about her methodology, because one of the things I love about all of our partners is everyone has their own way of doing things. We all have the same philosophy of wanting to help people, live with less, live with intentionality, live organized lives. But the way that we go about doing it is unique to each one of us. And so Lisa has what she calls her C.R.A.P method, which I can't wait to find out about. And I asked her to come on the show today to share that with all of you, because, we learn from different ways and different modalities. And sometimes there's one thing that you hear that one tip or trick and that light bulb pops on. So without further ado, I want to invite my friend Lisa out to the show. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Lori. I am so excited to be on here. I've been listening for your podcast before I started my business and got so many tips and tricks from you. I believe you did like an entrepreneur.
I did.
Yeah. I listened to all of those. I don't even know how long ago that was.
Oh my gosh. That was a long time ago. That was that was like early on. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I didn't even know that I was today years old when I learned that.
Yep. I went back to those. I fast forward through all the other stuff. And I was like, I just want to know how to get this business started. This woman's telling me how. Let's do it.
I love it. Well, Lisa, I gave everybody a very top line overview, but really in your own words, tell them a little bit about who you are and what you do.
So I am a mom of two. A lot of people told me I was crazy starting this business when I had young kids. They are now 6 and almost 4, but they were basically 2 and 4 when I started. So they've been along for the ride. I found it funny because I used to work in advertising and the company name was called The Basement. And when I quit there, I told the kids, I was like, this is my last day working at the basement. And then mommy's going to be doing her own job. And they were like, you've been working in the basement this whole time? I was like, I was there for 7 years. How did you not know? I mean, granted, they were there the whole time, but anyway, it was a lot of fun to start this business with them, being able to see it from the beginning, because now they actually know what I do, what my company is called. So it's been a journey for that, but I been married 9 years. We live in a suburb outside of Indianapolis called Carmel, not to be confused with Carmel by the Sea in California, because a lot of people think.
I'm sure it's exactly the same.
Yeah, we always say oh, it's Carmel by the interstate. Not much around here as far as sea-wise goes in Indiana.
Well, and there's my dog, Jeter, barking for all of the people because somebody's walking their dog outside. my office. So there you have it, people. Fun fact, and I've said this a couple of times on the air, but because my kids were young, not as young as yours when I started, but my kids were young also. I think they were 5 and 7 or something like that. I forget. Anyway, they thought I was in the business of flyers when I started, because I used to create flyers and put them in people's mailboxes, telling them
like
what I did.
collateral flyers.
Yeah, like they thought. So they would say, what did your mom do? Because I would be like, oh, do you need an organizer? And I would like stick it in people's mailboxes, like in my neighborhood. Like I was very much like the Willie Loman of professional organizing, going door to door. And my younger one would say, my mom, that's what she does for a living. She does flyers. And people were like, does she work for Kinko's? Like, what does she do? Like, what do you mean flyers? I don't understand.
Yeah, that was my old job, though. I literally did flyers in advertising world.
So how did you make the leap? Okay, so let's talk about this, because again, we've got a lot of people that are listening out there that might be in a similar boat. They might be in a job and thinking about maybe wanting to, start a business themselves. What made you decide that you were going to take this leap?
Yeah,
going from one to the other.
I worked in account service and advertising for, I think, like 14 or 15 years. And I worked at kind of a startup company was my last job. So I was employee number 14. And when I left, they were basically at 50. So while I was there, they asked me to kind of take on a new role. I used to be director of account service. They asked me to switch to more of an internal HR role because they were growing so quickly and just didn't have the structure for it. Like they didn't have policies in place. They didn't have documentation stuff. We barely had a way of asking for vacation days off. So I said, sure, I'll help us grow. It's a new thing for me. I had zero HR experience. So took it on, realized very quickly that I did not really like it. It wasn't creative enough for me. There was a lot of pressure in that job. Not that scared me away, but it was stuff that I wasn't sure how to handle. And it, like I said, it really didn't have much creativity in it. So I started thinking, what am I good at in this job that I could take to something else? And it was kind of funny. I remember shortly after I started at this company, the owner told me that one day I'd be running my own ad agency. He's like, you'll be running your own one day. I was like, no, I never want to be the boss. I never want to have that huge responsibility. I like coming to work and kind of letting it go at the end of the day. So fast forward a couple of years, and all of a sudden I was like, I think I'm going to start my own company. Granted, not an agency, but I was just trying to figure out what an HR of that position really was I good at and could take to a different role. Now, a ton of organizers will tell you, this was the day I had my aha moment. This is how I came up with it. And this is how I heard about professional organizing. I apparently had blacked all that out because I had no idea how I found this or why or any of it. I remember, so a group of friends and I, every single March Madness, we take off the Thursday and Friday of when the tourney tips off. Yeah. And we gather in a bar all day long until we have to go pick up our kids and watch basketball. And I remember talking to one of the girls and I was like, I don't know where this came from, but I want to be a professional organizer. And she said, oh my God, I have a friend that does that. I'll hook you up. You guys can chat and she can tell you how she got started. So I did. And I think I talked with maybe 3 or 4 local organizers. Honestly, I was just trying to say, hey, can I work for you? See if I like this. Well, all of them were solopreneurs and didn't want to take on an employee. So I said, all right, well, the only way this is going to happen is if I just do it myself. So I started it on the side. I did everything backwards from what, business coaches tell you to do. I spent way too long coming up with a website first. I spent way too long coming up with a name. I even had a copywriter. He's probably still mad at me. I had a copywriter at the agency give me some name ideas. I think he gave me 4 and I went with none of them and went with my own. So I think I was doing it behind the scenes, keeping it quiet at work because I didn't want people to think I was like 1 foot out or wasn't giving it my all. And especially in HR, like I still cared about the people. So I did it behind the scenes for 9 months. Then launched my website in November of 2019, continued at my full-time job for another year and a month. And, had a great exit there because I was very upfront with them. We had a new CEO start in October of 2019. And I remember one of the first questions he asked me, it was like, do you enjoy your job? I was like, oh God. Well,
you're like, that's a loaded question. How
I did not answer that question for at least 2 or 3 months. Like I would change the subject every time. I'm sure he knew what I was doing. But finally he sat me down, I think like in March 2020 or whatever, before everything went down. And he was like, where do you see yourself in this company? I'm like, I don't. So I was very upfront with them. I, worked my butt off until the last day, but found my own replacement. She came recommended by somebody at the company, trained her for, I think like 2 months. So try to make the best exit that I could while still doing this on the side. I was working 4 days at that agency. So I was doing organizing on Thursdays.
Mm-hmm.
And I started off by doing it Saturday and Sunday on the weekends. And then I realized I'm working 7 days a week and I have 2 young kids and I'm not feeding myself. So I just went down to 1 weekend day. So I was doing it basically 2 days a week in the evenings. And I remember having a beer with my friends on a Sunday and breaking down because I just couldn't do all of it anymore. Like I was booked, of the availability I had, I was booked for like 4 or 5 months out with advertising. So I went to my finance husband and said, I think I can make this work. I have steady work. I need to be able to focus on this if I'm going to make it happen. And he said, okay, I need a spreadsheet. And I said, here's one I've had for like a year. And it went a year out of what our finances look like and what I had to make and what I thought I could make. And he said, I don't like this format. Put it in my format.
Oh
so
my
said,
gosh.
Fine.
I want to see his format. I'm like fascinated. I love spreadsheets.
Yeah, I know. I put it in his format that he could read easier. And, we talked it through a lot. And then finally, after that breakdown with my friends, I just came home and said, I'm no longer asking permission. I'm doing this. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love this. Okay. So I want to go back and just like highlight some of the things that you said, because I think it really, on multiple levels, it resonates with a lot of people that might be listening. So one of the things that I love about this industry is the fact that it does not require a lot of startup costs, right? So you don't need a lot of capital to start this. You don't need inventory. Yeah. Would you like to have a label maker? Sure. Do you want a couple of things? But you don't need a lot of stuff. You don't need tons of inventory. So
right.
That's great. I love the fact that you talked about maybe some of the things that you would have done differently, like overthinking the website and overthinking. There are certain things that you want to do, but testing the waters first and just kind of getting that practical experience, especially in this industry, is really important. And so I love the fact that you acknowledge the parts where maybe you, I don't want to say wasted time, but could have refocused your time differently doing those things. But most importantly, what I love about your story is, and I think it's a common theme for a lot of people, but they might not talk about it, is that fear of making that transition from a full-time steady paycheck that they might not love for a variety of reasons, whether they don't like the work that they're doing, or they don't like, being tied to an office, or they want to master their, have more freedom with their own schedule, whatever it is. And they think it has to be like an all or nothing. And I love how you started doing it. And I don't recommend necessarily, unless you need money for food on the table to be working 7 days a week, but working, whether it's, 5-6 days a week, so that you can do this on the side and start, first of all, making sure that this is something that you really want to do, because being organized for yourself, and I know I've said this before, and loving the process is very different than doing it for somebody else. It's very rewarding doing it for somebody else, but you have to work with how their brain works and what's important to them and their values. And so it's a very different process than doing organizing for yourself. So a lot of times people might think that they want to do something and then find out that, hey, this isn't what I want to do at all. So I love that before you quit your job to be able to say, hey, this is actually something that I love. And the other thing is building out, like you said, the projections of getting those solid clients, getting some ideas of this is how I can monetize this business. So it's, like as Dave Ramsey says, because I'm a big Ramsey junkie, but like it's getting that boat closer to the dock so that you're not taking a big leap, you're just taking that step. And so for people that are thinking that they might want to start this, just starting small, doing those, taking it on as a psychic. I did that. I was an executive recruiter. For those of you who don't know that story, I did that on and off for 15 years. I did it for like several years, for like 10. Then I had my kids, took a break, and then went back to recruiting. And then I started my business, and I was able to do it in the off times. And I did that 1 foot in, 1 foot out. But again, I was very loyal to my company. And then once I started to say, like, I really think this is a viable business, I think this is something that I can do full time, was when I finally made that final like leap of faith to make that transition. So I think that's really important.
Coming from my old job too, like my title was literally director of agency process. So I had to get my organizing process down before I really wanted to go out in front of clients. So I think I had 3 or 4 friends and neighbors that I did projects for free of charge before I, really launched my business, just so I could get the process down. And I remember, it's funny how like little days stick in your head of how you started this, but I remember there being like a Sunday where I was out in our driveway, very Indiana, playing basketball in our driveway with the kids and sending them rebounds, but taking notes in my phone of, okay, this is how my process is going to go. So I'm first going to do this, ask these questions. Then next I'm going to do this, ask these questions. So I had my whole process of my company in the notes of my phone, playing basketball one Sunday afternoon. So once I had that down and written, I could see it. Like, okay, now I think I'm ready.
Oh my God, I love it. Okay. So we're going to take a break in a second, and we're going to come back and we're going to walk through your process because I love it. I also am chuckling. If anybody sees me, I'm watching this on YouTube. Lisa, we just came back from our partner retreat a few months ago, and we were doing a breakout session all about Enneagram, our Enneagram and clutter course that I have. And we were talking about Enneagram, and Lisa is a fellow Enneagram 8, even though we're very different, which we're both Enneagrams 8. And for anybody that knows anything about the Enneagram, knows 8s are very process-driven people. And so I'm chuckling as you're telling me you're working through this, because I'm like, that's the 8 in her that's going through that whole process step by step, which is why I think we're probably good at this job, because we can walk through the steps. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back, and I want to hear all about your process. So sit tight. If you're a professional organizer or have thought about becoming a professional organizer but not sure where to start, you might want to check out our SBO Partner program. It's a community of professional organizers from all over the globe who are running their own independent companies, but looking for community and some business strategies on how to grow and scale their business. To learn more, visit simplybeorganized.com and click on the Work With Me tab. Okay, so you're in the driveway playing basketball with the kids. Love it. Feel like this is my life. And the process comes up. So tell me a little bit about what that process looks like and how that translated to teaching that to your clients, not just knowing it for yourself.
Yeah, it's funny. I just looked on my phone and I still have the note in here because I never deleted it. And it's from,
my God, that's awesome.
Yep. September 16th, 2019.
I love it.
Yeah.
And what does it say? And read it. What does it say?
It's very long.
Okay. Don't read it. Just paraphrase.
Look at this. This is, I keep scrolling. You can't even see it. But anyway. So I named it Organizing Biz Process, great name. But I started from, step one was appointment confirmation. So once someone just makes the appointment, what happens now? So I, ask them right away of their preferred method of contact. So I went to the minute detail of everything. So
you got real granular.
I did. I have consultation being next and all the questions that I ask. So like intake questions and what is your learning style? Like all of that. So that was from back then. I haven't looked at this in a really long time, but overall, I'll get away from that note and actually what I do now. So my process is, once somebody finds me, I have everything very, I'm a tech person. The agency that I worked for was a digital ad agency. So I learned a lot there, but I try to make it all very streamlined because my clients are mostly extremely busy moms, whether they're working at home, they're professional people, they're just busy. And most of the time their houses are impeccable. They just don't have time to organize. So I try to make everything as easy as possible. So someone makes an appointment online for a free phone consultation and they just pick it from my calendar and make it. There's no back and forth and all of that. So we talk on the phone, we get to know each other for 15 minutes because I'm a big believer that this has to work both ways. They have to be comfortable with me. I have to be comfortable with them. And quite frankly, there's a big safety thing in this job too. Like you're going to someone's house completely by yourself. I now have my tracker on, so my husband knows where I am at all times. But so you're just feeling out the person. I am an open book with my clients. So right away, I'm telling them, this is how much it's probably going to cost. You're going to, be willing to put money into product because I'm a firm believer that a true organizing system that you're going to be proud of and that really goes with the aesthetic of your home and that you're going to keep up. You have to make some investment in that. And that's where, you're very prideful of this new space. So that's going to help maintaining it too. So I just tell them how it is working with me from the very beginning. And then I do an in-home planning meeting, I call it, which is basically the in-home consultation, but it's where we talk strategy. I get to know you. I get to know your family. I get to know your habits. I'm asking you, the most random questions like, are you right-handed? Are you left-handed? What's your morning routine? When do you use this space? What would you like to use this space for? Because some people have great spaces in their homes that right now it's just catch-all. Well, I would love for this to be like a reading nook. So we're talking strategy. We're talking what's working, what isn't. I get to see the rest of your house and how it flows and your style, or maybe the style you wished you had. So it's really getting to know clients on a personal level. And then from there, I'm able to give them kind of a better estimate of, okay, if we want to tackle this one space, I think it's going to be, however many sessions. So we talk through that. And then I do have a client agreement that they have to sign. So everything again is written out for them there. And then if they like me and like where we're going, we're off to the races with sessions after that.
I love how, it's so fascinating because obviously I'm fascinated with the business side of the business, but I'm what I love that you are doing and demonstrating by walking us through this is really showing the intentionality that you're putting in there, that it's more than just looking at a space, 2 or 3 dimensional space and saying, I'm going to fix it, or I can make this better. It's getting to know the people, because this is, and I say this and you hear me say this all the time, it's a very relational business. It's a very relational relationship that you have, and fit is huge. And again, check mark, check next to all the things that you said. From the professional organizer perspective, it has to be a match from, like you said, a safety perspective, as well as from, are we on the same page with what your goals are? And am I the right person? Because there's a spectrum of different types of organizers. And just like you could fill that in the blank from anyone, from a therapist to a personal trainer to any other service related business that you interact with in your life, there's other people that do this, but is this person the right fit for you? And to me, that's why I always say it's really important and whatever your style is, right? So this is your method and what you do, the way that you work with your clients. But by going through all of these steps, it allows you to identify whether or not it's going to be a successful relationship. Mm-hmm. So then I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, it's also, what kind of project do you have too? Like, I got to be honest, if someone just needs a room cleared out with clutter, I'm not your girl. If you want it cleared out and turned into a home office, then I'm your girl. So I tend to take the organizing to the next level of your getting organized is going to create space in your home, or it's going to create a new space, or it's going to create a fresh space. It's not just going to get rid of stuff.
Yeah. And I think, again, that is what I love about this industry and how we can help other people, because there are people that specialize in different areas and have gifts in different areas. There are people that specialize just in, I'm getting my house ready to downsize, or or I just moved in and they do like moving management. That's not my area of expertise. So that is not a job that I would necessarily want to take on. And I would happily refer that to somebody else. Or, like you said, if someone's doing a garage clean out, that might not be, your fit. And knowing, I think it's so great to be able to know who your ideal client is and be able to serve them. So for anybody that might be listening out there, that's thinking, I want to do this for a living, I'm not really sure what I want to do, I think it's okay. And I think it's great to have specialty areas that you lean into, and that that this is the value that I can bring. So I love that. So talk to us. I want to talk a little bit about this C.R.A.P method, how this came about. Was this in part of that note that because now you meet with somebody? It's not?
No, it came, honestly, I'm not even going to lie. So a real estate agent, a local one here in Carmel, asked me to write a guest blog for her back in, I don't know, this spring. And she's like, it can be any topic you want. So I sat down to write this blog and I was like, what do I want to write about? And it was kind of spring cleaning time. Like, all right, how can I help people spring clean? And I just came up with this method. I don't know. It came out of nowhere.
Well, it's catchy. Yeah, the C.R.A.P method. So it's
part of my advertising coming out of, I wanted something that someone could easily remember, and acronyms are always a thing everywhere.
I'm a big on acronyms.
Yeah. And anybody who knows me is that I can be a sailor. So I made it C.R.A.P and not the other word. But I just wanted someone to remember it and know, like, okay, this is obtainable. So, the big line of thinking with a lot of organizers is think about what you want to keep. And that's everything that you love, use, and need. Mm-hmm. Well, it can be hard to even get to that when you're just looking at a mountain of your possessions. So my philosophy is start with this so you can focus on kind of like one thing at a time and get rid of the stuff that are no brainers, really, or should be no brainers. And then you can really focus, okay, what's left? What do I actually love, use, and need? So this is like the first step or the beginning step before that of let's just get rid of the low hanging fruit, basically.
That's what I do. I didn't realize that wasn't a thing. That's what I do. I'm like, let's just pick the stuff that you don't want. So
yeah, well, I know a lot of organizers are like, oh, let's, what do you love? And let's keep what you love. Well, most people are like, everything. Well, I want to keep it off.
Can I tell you a quick side story?
Please.
So when Zoe, my older daughter, was first we were looking at colleges for her. And I noticed that the whole process was extremely overwhelming for not just my kid, but for all the kids. They were just very overwhelmed because there's so many options like out there. And they would procrastinate. So think about it. It's really no different than avoiding an organizing project because you're just overwhelmed. You don't know where to start, all the things. And so one day I sat down with her and I just said, what don't you want? Because people will say, where do you want to go to school? What kind of school do you want to go? What do you want to study? All these things. And you don't know. You're like 17 years old. I mean, yes, there's those random people that are like, I know I want to be a doctor. I know I want to save the world and whatever. But she's like, I want to help people, but I don't know what that means. Like I don't know. So I sat down with her and I said, okay, well, let's look at what you don't want. Do you, and I started asking questions. Now, obviously this is about college, but I started saying, do you want to live in a city? No. Okay. Do you want a big school or small? Like, do you want a small school? And she's like, no, I came from a small high school. I want a big school with a big football team, So just by asking her what she didn't want, helped us narrow down where to look. And so I think when it comes to organizing a physical space, that can provide you so much more clarity because again, we know what we don't want. We know what we don't like a lot more than when we say, well, what do you like? Because you don't know.
Yeah. Or it's just easily like, of course I like it all. It's in my house.
Right.
Cheating.
So walk us through, what does it stand for? So walk us through the actual acronym.
So this is how you get rid of your crap. So you toss it if it is C, cheap.
Oh, okay.
R, repetitive. A, aggravating. And P, past its prime.
I love this.
Yes. So going back. So the C, the cheap stuff. And I'm not even talking about like, how much did you pay for it? Because I get really sick of clients being like, well, this was a lot of money. I need to keep it. Like, really? Are you still spending that money daily, holding on to it? Like, no, the money's gone. Who cares if the item is gone if you're not using it? But going away from that. So the cheap stuff is just, it's made of bad material. I always say Forever 21 is not forever at all. And none of us are 21. So don't even shop there, first of all, or anything like it. But
we love you, Forever 21. Sorry, but I know what you're saying.
Not sponsored. But it's the stuff where, it's made of bad material, or it was sample items, free items, promotional items, the fake looking stuff. Like if you have a fake plant and you can tell like this is made of absolute cheap plastic.
Or I would even say like if you're doing kids playrooms, like the free stuff that you get at Chick-fil-A or in a McDonald's Happy Meal or whatever. Like all of those like
24 hours in
or in like a goodie bag. Do kids they still do that? Give out goodie bags,
So funny story about that. So my daughter had a birthday party this summer and we had a huge like inflatable water bounce house. That was your gift to come. And one of the little girls, her mom said we had to leave. And she came up to me and she's like, I'm ready for my goodie bag. I'm like, sorry, honey. I don't have a goodie bag.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was hilarious.
That's funny. So yeah, so I think again, the cheap things, okay. So cheap.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep. So then the R is repetitive. So this is stuff that you just have too much of. I mean, how many wooden spoons do you need in your kitchen? How many red t-shirts do you need in your closet? How many water bottles do you need? Pens and pencils even. So this is the stuff, once you gather it and you see that you have 10 of something or 3 of something that you use once a year, you just need to get rid of that repetitive stuff. So keep 1 of something, 2 of something. This is where I always ask the questions of clients. It's like, how often are you using this? How many people are using it at once? Because so many people are like, I need 5 wooden spoons. How many hands do you have to stir something? Like, even when you're hosting Thanksgiving, how many burners do you have?
Yeah, I see this a lot with people with baking supply, like gadgets, kitchen gadgets, like a lot of like measuring spoons, like how many sets of them do you need? So, because we tend to accumulate things, and even like you said, with clothes, we all have our personal style. So you tend to buy things that reflect that. So after a while, you're like, I've got 17 waffle shirts that look almost exactly the same.
Yeah. Just a different shade of gray. Yeah. So it's just looking at how much do you have of something that you actually really need of it. Gotcha.
I love it. All right. The A, aggravating.
Yes. So this is kind of where the emotion comes in a lot. So working with a client early on, she had gone through a bad divorce, and we came across so many things that were wedding gifts that she didn't want to be reminded of. Or this came from my ex-sister-in-law who she never got me. So every time she came across one of these items, I was like, this is always holding a bad memory for you. Just get rid of it. And she was absolutely fine with that. But it's stuff that just makes you feel aggravated. So whether that be you're annoyed every time you see it, it's always in the way every time you're trying to get to something and you never actually use that item. It's clothes that don't fit. That's very aggravating. It's decor that doesn't fit your style that someone thought you would love. And every time you see it, you're like, oh, this doesn't even fit in my house. It's stuff from previous bad relationships, whether that be divorce, friendships, all of that stuff. It could even be, and I think everybody has this in their house, like that's a project I'm going to get to or finish one day. Well, every time you come across it, you're aggravating yourself that you feel guilt you didn't have it finished yet. You feel terrible that you don't take the time. You don't even remember how to cross stitch anymore. Right. So it's the stuff that just makes you feel negative. It's aggravating. Just stop making yourself feel that way.
I love it. It's true. Cause I think I'm like, oh my gosh, I kept thinking it's aggravating, it's anxious, it's anxiety producing. It's like all of the A's,
all of those A's,
all of the A's, yes. Just get rid of it. Yeah. It's all of that. And it is. And at the end of the day, it's really that emotional clutter. And so, and when we can start to name that, I think that's when people start to feel like they have that permission to get rid of it. I love it. Okay. And then past its prime. I love that.
So this is the stuff that it's worn, it's stained, it's tarnished, it's broken, it's expired, it's stretched out, like stuff that you may have loved for years, but it's just not serving its own purpose anymore, much less a purpose for you.
Right.
So this is toys that have missing pieces, like the puzzles and stuff. This is expired spices, stuff that has served its purpose, but now you and it need to move on.
Amen, sister. Amen. I love it. So, all right, we're going to take one more quick break. Then we're going to come back and I have a couple other questions, and then I'm going to put you in the hot seat for our wrap-up questions. Sound good? All right.
Yep.
How many of you have ever thought, I have absolutely nothing to wear, even though you're staring at a rack filled with clothes. If that's you, you are absolutely not alone. I dreaded shopping. I dreaded the thought of shopping until I met my friend, Jeannie Stithma-Winnie, who's the founder of Your Color Guru. Your Color Guru looks at your personalized style, hair color, eye color, complexion, and helps match what color schemes look best for you. So instead of sitting there buying things that you think are going to look good or that you hope look good, Jeannie actually allows you to shop freely within the guise of saying, these are the colors that make you look your best, which quite frankly, who doesn't want to look their best? So she put together a special coupon code for This Organized Life listeners. And I can tell you that I've been getting tons of thank you notes from people saying this has completely revolutionized how they shop and allowed them to make smarter choices when they are going to, whether it's online shopping or in-person shopping. So I encourage you to check this out. Visit her website, Your Color Guru, and she gives a special promo code to all This Organized Life listeners. Just punch in the code Organized Life and you can get 10% off your consultation. I am telling you, it is a game changer. It was a game changer for me, and it is a game changer for all of the people who I know have been working with her for the past 2 years. So definitely check it out. And when you talk to her, make sure to tell her that I sent you. All right. So you've had the CRA.P method. I love it. What's been the feedback from your clients with working through that step-by-step process?
Yeah. I mean, after they get past their initial giggles, they love it because it's easy to digest. It's easy to just focus on, okay, I'm just going to look at my things through the C vision first, lens, I should say. And then that's all I have to think about is just what is cheap here. And then they go to the next letter. Okay, what is repetitive? So instead of trying to look at everything of how much do I love it? Do I love it enough? Do I love it some? It's just plain and simple. Is this cheap? Is this repetitive? Is it aggravating, or is it past its prime? So they just love, I have some clients even, a session that we're not actually going through the CRA.P method, they'll hold something up that they find and they're like, this is cheap. They are so excited to say which one of the letters it is.
I love it. Have you been using this? Because I know my family's always my guinea pig whenever I would be trying something new. Mm-hmm. Is this something that you use at home with your own kids?
Not yet, just because they're a little.
Because you don't want to cuss in front of them.
But my son's been getting in trouble at daycare enough lately. I don't need him cursing.
Well, but do you modify it? Is this something that you, or even when you're assessing your own stuff, is this something that you apply in your own life as well?
Yeah, it's funny when I'm, I've done some presentations and stuff with this CRA.P method, and I always wear a certain sweater because it has a giant hole right by my hand. So I unfold my sleeve when I'm hiding the hole and say, see, this is something I myself need to get rid of because it is past its prime. It has a giant hole and it was cheap, which is how it got this hole. So yeah, I definitely use it in my own head. I think that's, essentially how I ended up coming up with it, because I am constantly seeing stuff in my own house and just which one of these is it? I haven't gotten to my kids yet with it, but it's something they're going to learn.
Well, and your kids are still really small. I mean, they're still little. So
what I have been teaching them, and this is, I'm going to have a really bad mom label here. I am ruthless with my kids' artwork that comes into the house. So that's where I'm teaching them of paper clutter can be the worst and it adds up quickly. especially with them being like in daycare and kindergarten.
I was going to say that preschool daycare.
Yes.
That's when the volume,
it comes into the house. I look at it immediately and I have a pile of recycle, what can be recycled, and keep. And I will throw the recycling pile away in front of my kids.
Oh my gosh, Don, are you taking note of this? Because we just did our best of episode and Don was talking about how he is paper clutter that he piles up. So Don, are you listening to this?
Oh, we lost Don.
Oh, how convenient he's on mute. Just saying. Okay. Great. Now let me ask you, as a mom, because I'm sure there are moms that are listening going, oh my God, I could never throw out my kids' artwork. We've done episodes on this. And I know I went through this obviously with my own kids as well. Mm-hmm. What do you say to your kids? How do you approach this conversation of they come home from daycare and they have every scribble to the Mona Lisa?
Yeah, I just explained to them that if we were to keep everything that they did, that their entire bedroom or, a special place to them would become just paper. So my daughter loves doing crafts. Okay, Nina, if we kept every artwork that you did at school, in order for us to do crafts on a Saturday, we would spend 15 minutes just clearing the space, trying to get rid of all the paper that you had brought home, probably from just that week. You take pride in doing it, because the other day she had something that I think it had torn. And I said, we don't even need to keep this. It was a rainbow. You did a rainbow last week. I loved that one. We're going to put that on the wall. And that will represent all the rainbows that you have created. She's like, but mommy, I worked really hard on this one. And I said, did you work really hard on the other one? Yeah, I work hard on all of them. And I said, okay, then the pride goes into what you did. You don't have to have every representation of you working hard on something, because sometimes you work hard on stuff where you don't have like a physical thing to show for it. So, and I tell her, and I want you to, the next time you make a rainbow, work really hard on that too. And we can always switch them out. So it's just trying to teach her that we literally can't hold on to everything, because our life would just be consumed by
it. It's a really important life lesson. We used to, I had it in our basement, which was a playroom. I had a wall that was a cork board. So I would hang their stuff down there so I didn't have to see it. We would also do a lot of like mailing artwork to the troops and doing stuff. So we would, and giving them away to people to make other people smile as well. But I would also tell my kids, like with artwork, one of my hard and fast rules was if it wasn't something that really represented my kid. Like if I can't look back on this and know that my kid did this, and it could have been any kid. So like, let's say it was like in daycare, you get all those things where like, they're making a turkey and they just are gluing the things on or whatever. And there's nothing at all. It could be any child did it. That's the stuff I got rid of. So, but if they did something that I felt was really personal, or that they, like you said, that they put, they did a family portrait or whatever, that's the stuff that I would keep. So,
and I make them explain it to me when it comes in the door. Like, what does this represent to you?
Yeah.
And if it's a story or, this is something that's special to me, I'll write that on the back. So I remember the story around it, their age and all of that. And then when I go back through it later, and I just did this past weekend where I put everything actually in a bin. It took me this long to start it, which is sad. But I put everything like in a memory bin for each kid. So it made me go back through stuff from 4-6 years ago. And there's stuff I found that I'm like, why was I keeping this? There's no story around it. So I've learned to write the story on the back
I like
So when
that.
I go through it years later, then I'm like, okay, now I actually know what this is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm the same way. If it doesn't have a story with it, if it doesn't say what they're thankful for, if it doesn't say like my favorite thing, if it doesn't have a handprint.
Correct. Handprints were a big one. Handprints were a big one. Yep. I agree.
Yep.
I agree.
Yeah. I found a turkey. I think it was 2 years ago that my son did. And it was, I'm thankful for my awesome shoes. Okay.
Hey,
that one.
That would be my husband to this day because he's a big sneakerhead. So yes, I think that could be foreshadowing for all you know.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
I love it. Before we wrap up, are there any, you've given tons of great advice and suggestions and recommendations. So for any of the people that are out there that might feel like they're drinking from a fire hose, there's so much stuff coming in. I just, can't keep up with everything. What is your advice for them from where's a good starting point?
So a fun fact about me that you probably don't know is that I was a junior firefighter.
I did not.
Yeah. When I was either junior or senior in high school. So my dad was the fire chief in my very small town volunteer fire department. Shout out to all the volunteer firefighters out there.
Yes.
Love them. Special place in my heart, but I was a junior firefighter. The thing I learned about fire hoses is that you can't hold them by yourself. You always have to have a team behind you. And that team can help you know how much water to actually be spewing out of that hose. But my biggest advice is, especially for the moms with a family at home, organizing can't be a one-person job in the house. It just can't. So don't feel like you're the only one that can organize. Don't feel like everyone is against your organizing. Get them on your team, get them on board. That's a lot of part of my process too, because half the time it's the women of the house hiring us. And you hear all the time, my husband doesn't understand really the value of this. So talk about the hot seat. I always feel like I'm on the hot seat because it's like, ooh, I have to really prove my worth here to the husband. So, and it always works too. The husband always comes in and we're like, I had no idea. This is the benefit and value that I could feel. Yeah. So it's just asking for other people to help you hold the fire hose. So don't take the whole household responsibility of your house being in order on yourself. Your family has to be on board. And part of that process is having them be part of the original organizing, help them understand, especially with kids, why you're donating toys, who it's going to, how that's benefiting them and how it's benefiting themselves too. So it's just making it a team effort, really. And here's a plug for myself that I wasn't even trying.
No.
If your family can't do it, hire a professional organizer. But ask for help. So many of us women are like, I have to make my house Instagram worthy all the time. And I have to keep it that way. And it's all on me. No.
Yeah. I love everything that you're saying. And again, I told our kids when we were growing up, like, this is Team Palau and we all have different roles on this team and we all do different things, but we're all part of this. And so again, I think it's great because you're teaching your kids from an early age these life lessons, and it's great. And I love that wherever you are in the process, there are things that you can do. And just, again, it doesn't all have to fall on you. So I love that. Yeah. Where can people go to learn more? Again, talking about Instagram, and again, look at this again from the perspective that this is goals, people, right? This isn't to make you feel bad about your house not measuring up, but Lisa's got amazing, I love her Instagram feed. Where can people go? Tell them your website, Instagram, all the things if they want to connect up with you.
So my website is Support Indy, INDY, for short for Indianapolis.com. So sortsupportindy.com. I'm on Instagram at Sort Support. And then I'm also on Facebook too at Sort Support Indy.
Awesome. Great. All right. So you're a longtime listener. So, I always ask our guests.
Caller.
Yeah, exactly. I always ask our guests a few questions. First of all, what book have you read that has been, or it could be an audiobook. And if you're not a book reader, you could do a podcast.
You're going to hate me because so another funny story. When I was at my ad agency, my boss wanted me to read this, marketing book. And it was literally right when my daughter was born. And I was like, I don't even read anymore, like especially marketing books. So I had an account coordinator underneath me, and I delegated the book to her. And I had her do like cliff notes, and I was like, "Oh, send that out to the whole agency. Everybody can learn from this." And he called me into his office and he was like, "You were supposed to read that book." I'm like, "But you also told me I needed to delegate more." So,
oh my gosh,
win-win here. But anyway,
so all right. So give us some nugget of wisdom that you can share with our listeners.
So I don't even know where I heard this. It may have been off of a podcast, but, and I'm not going to say it correctly, but someone told me, everyone has a finite amount of time. You don't have a finite amount of energy. So you need to align your time and energy to be your most productive. And I was really taking this when I was, having two jobs, essentially, when Sort Support was still part-time and on the side. Of I could stay up until 2:00 in the morning every night working on Sort Support. But if my energy wasn't there, it was like I was doing nothing. I was wasting that time, even though I was putting in the time.
Gotcha.
You have to find that prime,
that sweet
connection
spot
between the two. Yeah. Where you actually have the time to work on something and you have the energy to work on it.
I kind of call that your peak productivity time, but yes, it is. I like it.
Exactly.
So
it's the same philosophy.
that is a great philosophy. I love it.
Yeah.
All right. Now, Lisa, our infamous questions in this particular season of your life. Where do you feel the most organized, and where do you feel like a bit of a hot mess?
So the most organized, I would say 3. My kids' rooms are impeccable. They're better than my room. My pantry. And honestly, my calendar.
I love that. Good for you.
My husband and I have taken it on that our kids don't need to be in every activity. They can take a season off. They can do one activity at a time. We're not willing to give up some of our summer Saturdays to just go after our kids' activities. They're young enough that they can experience other things.
I love that. I hope everybody just marinates on that, because that is, and I'd like to see how that, I want to come back to you in 5 years and see how that is, but I think it's great. And there is that whole keeping up with the Joneses and with activities and doing all the things and having your kids involved in 10 million different. Yeah. So I love the fact that you are saying, no, we're not doing that. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So give us the down and dirty. Where's your hot mess moment?
Master closet.
Really?
Terrible. Oh my God. So it is builder grade, everything. And we're in this spot right now that it's like, how long are we going to stay in this house? Do I want to invest in it? Because I need to completely take it all out and start over. So I'm trying to decide, and I want to design it, of course. So I have not been able to decide how much I want to invest in it, knowing this isn't our forever house. So,
well, you do know okay. So that closet, if you do enhance a closet, depending on how much money you invest in it, that will increase your home value. And if you're going to be in it for a couple years, You don't have to do it expensively. You don't have to have it all custom, but
that's where I struggle because I'm like, but I kind of want it custom.
All right.
It's
Well,
a terrible one, but yeah, it's terrible. I had well, never mind. I'm not going to tell this story.
Well, Lisa, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you for being a part of our community. I think this episode, and I love these partner spotlights, because not only is it getting our audience and our community, our podcast community, to know my people better and know you better, but it is inspirational for other people who might be thinking, I want to start an organizing business. I might want to try this, and I want to hear how other people did it. And so I love this series for so many reasons. So thank you for coming on and being part of it. If this is your first time tuning into our show, welcome. Make sure you click the subscribe, follow button. If you're on YouTube or you want to watch us, go ahead, head on over to YouTube, and make sure that you follow us on social media, if I could speak. If you're on Facebook, This Organized Life Podcast, our Facebook group, you can post comments, questions, topics for things that you want us to talk about on the show, any of the things. And we're everywhere at Simply Be Organized. So until next week, I'm Lori Palau. Peace out.